All right. All right, gentlemen. It is the second podcast for the Hoffle in 2025. We recently had Mexico City, an absolute banger race, at least in my opinion. What are you guys' thoughts on Mexico? We'll dive right into it.
I think it was a great race. It was fun to watch, especially that last stint where I was sitting there watching with my dad, and SVG kind of ran off from everybody. And this was before he had pitted. He was still on those old tires. I had gone to the bathroom or something, and I came back and he was running off from everybody. I was like, "So did something happen where he was able to hit and stay up front?" My dad was like, "I don't think he went in." And it was just crazy to watch him just get full gap on people on like some 30 lap older tires. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean the gap was like the biggest since like 1996 or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it said the biggest gap in history at the end. It was what 17 seconds, something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a solid weekend. It was a lot better than I anticipated. Given the characteristics of the next gen. But I don't know. Maybe it was because of the rain, but it was a bit more of a nice sight to see than usual.
Yeah. And SVG winning. How do you guys feel about that?
I am not surprised in the slightest. I mean, only reason I didn't have them in my playoff bracket is because I completely forgot that the road courses existed for a minute, even though they're my favorite to watch. I think he's gonna get one or two more the road courses towards the end of the season. I'm just not surprised. He's a master class. I think a lot of the Cup guys have stuff to learn from him.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree. I think he's very sensational when it comes to the road courses and the street courses. I mean, that's all he's known for. Sure. I mean, there's like an adjustment to these cars, especially given different brakes, tires, and all that stuff. And sure, there's similarities, but I think a lot of it was just like almost like a second nature in a sense. Which I think, especially with like I said, with the way the supercar schedule is, they're bound to he's bound to just let it come to him naturally in a sense. I mean, you saw it at Chicago in 23, his debut. So.
Yeah. I mean, I had him like out. I just knew he was going to win a race, at least one race, and I think Trackhouse is going to go down as absolute geniuses. I mean, they played the system in the format to a T. Like, I mean, some people were like, "Oh, they're crazy. They're rushing him up the cup or something like that." But that's not even the point. He's not here to compete. He's here to win on one specific type of track, or two if you count street courses, and he did exactly that. So I think Trackhouse is better for it. Like, you can't even hate on that. That's just genius.
No, I agree. I think they know their system pretty well. And even so, if he manages to get 3 wins in a season, I don't even think throw out the format. I think that deserves a playoff. I mean, that would deserve a playoff spot. Any other format, I think you could say.
Yeah, I mean, 3 wins. Like, my question is, and I don't know how you do the math. If someone out there could do that, or I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard though. But if he was performing the way he was right now, given his current season, if he won the 3 road courses, the 2 more that we got coming up, say we didn't have winning you're in, would he still make the playoffs? I don't think mathematically that would work out.
No, I don't think there'd be any way. He was 100 points out, man. There was too much gap to be made up, man. I don't think it doesn't matter. I don't think he would have caught up even without the winning you're in.
I think he might, like, if anything, best case scenario, just barely he would have snuck in. But I think he's, I want
Because
to say like 30th in points or so.
my thing is he only jumped 33 spots in points from 33rd to 30th. And he, I mean, sure, you can argue that maybe he wins some more, he would jump some guys, but I think the deficit would have been too large for him to overcome. And I don't know. I just, regardless, when you factor in stage points, when you factor in how his other competitors are going to be faring in these road courses, because he's not just trying to, excuse me, he's not just winning these road courses. There's all these other guys that he's competing against are also making some big points as well. I mean, even like Custer, I recall, was running top 10 in Mexico at one point.
Speaking
I
of,
mean,
yeah,
so it's
sorry.
like it's a difficult. I think regardless of winning you're in or not, I think, or if there was no winning you're in, he's not making the playoffs regardless. But I mean, it's neither here nor there.
Dude, if next year, say he gets better at ovals, say they change the format and there's no win you're in, if he gets a marginally better at ovals, say, and then he wins 2 road courses, maybe a super speedway, because he was decent at like Atlanta and some other super speedways. He was up there a couple of times. Say he's able to do that. I mean, he could probably still make the playoffs even without win you're in. I still think even without it, I think that SVG has his place.
I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think if he marginally improves on his oval performances, that could go a long way. But these early season oval woes were really bad, which is why I said in the event that no one you're in and he wins 3 other races, I think his shot to make the playoffs are little to none. We're already past. I think we're already past the regular season, at halfway through the regular season at this point. So where you're at is where you're at. In essence.
Hold up, you're real. So what I'm hearing here is I got my tinfoil hat on. Is what I'm hearing here is SVG goes back to Xfinity, so Zilich gets the cup ride, so Suárez keeps his seat.
Nah,
That's what I'm hearing here.
no, I don't think they're dropping him. I think he's already moved his entire family over here. I mean, maybe in an ideal world for me, and for me personally at least, as a Suárez fan, I would love for him to stay there. But I mean, this year has been really bleak. So I don't know. It doesn't. Regardless of what happens, I'm not here trying to like absolutely slander SVG. You know, he's a phenomenal for what he does, but I don't know. It just that it's like it's the same. It's the same principle that we were talking about with Harrison Burton. But I mean, that's not his fault. It's not Harrison Burton's fault. It's just the way the system is.
Speaking of guys coming up in the field and getting points though, other than SVG, did notice in that last run, certain number 9 car started 18th and drove his way all the way up to 3rd.
Yeah, Road Course Elliott is looks like he's back.
Don't say that. Don't say that. You're gonna jinx it. I hope so.
Yeah.
He looks good, but terrible pit road luck kind of, I think, has a little bit less of a factor when everybody else is also trying to figure out how to pit from the opposite side.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I remember looking at the car and seeing the gas cap with like a bolted on cover and thinking, "Oh, that's weird." And then it dawned on me, "Oh, they're doing it the other side." I didn't even register that, but that was kind of interesting how the pit crews had to get used to the drivers. Something you don't really think about. I thought that was very intriguing race. Like I thought the racing, the track lent to some really good racing. It looked really cool, like the stadium section. I mean, to me, it was like a track that would be in like Forza or Need for Speed or something like that, like some kind of fake fictional creation.
Definitely would have been fun to go and sit in that little stadium section. I can imagine you can see plenty of the track from there. I've never been, so I don't really know. But that would have been a fun one to go to, I think.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just a bit more used to it because I've been watching Formula One for a few years as well. So I mean, and even then NASCAR went there from 2005 to 2008 in the Busch Series. So I'm just kind of known about the history and I'm kind of used to it.
did it have a stadium section back then or no?
Yeah, I believe so because that used to be an old baseball stadium.
Oh, that's you see about these conversions and the way sports stadiums change, like their purpose, but you never hear of a baseball stadium becoming a racetrack. That might be
Becoming a
the
part
first
of a
time.
racetrack.
Yeah,
Did you know they also have an oval actually?
really.
Oh, yeah, they have an oval. I forget. I'm sure you could probably like look up a photo of it, but I'm 90% sure there was an oval there at some point.
Did they do an exhibition back in the '90s?
No, I doubt it. I do not believe so. The only time they went to Mexico was from '05 to '08, and for the Busch Series. And I recall they went international elsewhere in the Cup Series pre-modern era. I forgot the place specifically. And
Australia.
we had that was an exhibition. But I'm talking like for a points paying race. I think there was one in '67. It was probably Canada.
They
Canada
went
checks
to,
out.
it
Most
was
sport.
Niagara Falls. They I forget the actual track name.
Canadian Motorsports Park.
It might have been that. It was a piece of. I mean, I'll bleep that out. But piece of crap track. It was apparently it developed like horrible ruts, and it would frequently take out equipment.
Let me look it up. I
We're
can
gonna
look it up
find
for you.
bar now.
What was that?
So
Look it up.
we're gonna fine you $50K like they did Jose Bar now for saying that.
I gotta go to sensitivity training. Oh, man. Well, we were speaking about Daniel Suárez earlier. I know we probably all have some pretty strong emotions about or feelings about that. So, how are you guys feeling about Daniel Suárez winning?
I'm glad he got his win. Glad he got it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It was both of those races this weekend were very feel good. They were very popular wins, I would say. Anyways.
Oh, dude. I was gonna hang out with some friends. I put it on MRN because I was like, I'm trying to hang out with my friends, but I still want to pay attention to this race. And then I just hear I forget who makes the calls, but I hear just Daniel Suárez will win. And here I am in downtown Atlanta trying to avoid the traffic on Hank Aaron Avenue, maybe? I don't remember. It was like some street around it. And my ass just goes ballistic in the car. Oh, no, dude.
Dude, I was standing up for the last like 5 or 7 laps. Like I could not sit down. I was yelling at TV.
If I was at home, bro, I'd be running around the house, bro. Straight up.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. Oh, dude, that was a hell of a high. Oh, man, that meant so much. If I had to pick and choose, I probably would have taken the Cup Series win, but like the season's been rough, man, and to see him win in his home nation, it's so cool, especially for me who is like of Mexican descent, and I speak Spanish pretty fluently by American standards at least, and to have just grown up in the culture, it's cool. It meant a lot to see him win. I've been a fan of him for forever. It's been more than 10 years, almost 10 years now, more than 10 years, give or take. And yeah, it just means a lot.
Hey, he still got Atlanta, man. He could still real good at that. Real good in Atlanta. So
That's true, but I don't know the way things have played out. It just hasn't been an ideal season, but we'll work it out eventually.
Hey, we got Atlanta. We got Sonoma. He's won there. Chicago. He's got potential.
That's runnable.
And then there's Daytona. Always, it ain't over till it's over.
Daytona's
True. Hold on, I'm looking it up. When's the last time they went internationally?
What was that, Wiley?
I was gonna say Daytona's a dice roll, so you never know.
Right. Yeah. Could be anybody. Yeah. With Daniel Suárez, even if I didn't give a crap about Daniel, and I'm a huge fan of Daniel Suárez, always have been. I was fortunate to be able to meet him. I don't remember if I told you, Wiley, but
You did tell me.
You remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to meet him too at one point.
Right. Yeah, because you went to the track. Well, I recently got in touch with again, and we could talk about this some other time. But me and him started working out a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, we can maybe you can go meet Daniel." And I was like, "Okay." And so he took me to the track with the pass and everything, which is the same thing. Because you got to sit at the pit box, right?
Yeah, I did. I got to go up there. It was pretty sick. Not gonna lie.
That's awesome, man.
Oh,
Dude, I was so like grateful. Like, I mean, it was like a surreal experience. And like just being able to be in breathing the same air, like I don't know, it's like being in a different world, I guess. But even like circling back to what I was talking about, like even if I didn't care about Daniel Suarez or anything, if he was just another driver, to see him win in his home country, it would still be as emotional, as cool of a moment. Like this is up there. I the way I felt watching that was the same as when Larson won his championship or when Elliott won his championship.
Yeah, definitely a pretty landmark. Feel good. Cool story too. Like it's been built up all year. They kept promoting it and posting stuff, and he got to do a whole lot with that. So it's a pretty cool story. And I think it's cool when NASCAR gets to go do things like that. It's maybe not a new audience, but going and showing the sport to a new set of people, a new set of eyes, a new market. It's good for the sport, definitely. Like when they went to Chicago, I can't imagine too many. I mean, it's big in the South. I can't imagine a whole lot of. There's a huge northern market for it, but when you go and show it to these people, it's like, oh, this is going on in my city. Tickets aren't super expensive, and I've always heard about it, so I may as well go. And then you go, and then you're like, wow, this is really cool. I really enjoy this. Now I want to watch the races on TV. So I think it's a good thing for the sport to go do that.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like NASCAR going to Mexico City, like I've heard a lot of the stories of the fandom that's in there with the Mexican NASCAR fans, like the footage of the people swarming Todd Gilliland. I think it was Todd Gilliland. Like that's Todd Gilliland. Like you wouldn't bat an eye to Todd Gilliland here in the States, but because he's a NASCAR driver, because they're going crazy over NASCAR drivers, he's like the biggest star. That's the biggest crowd Todd Gilliland's ever probably got.
we're a passionate bunch. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Continue.
Well, I mean, that's basically it. Just that, like, I think it was really cool to like tap that market and that potential. I think there's a lot of places in the world that would go crazy for something so American, because a lot of countries have a big their fans, kind of like how like we in America like have like this fascination with like Japanese culture in a way. Like I feel like that there's a presence in other countries, and we could take advantage of that.
I'm inclined to agree. Especially since, like I said, my dad's from Mexico. My dad's born from Mexico. And just seeing the fans, even at the Formula One races, man, they're a very passionate individual, passionate bunch of people, myself included. And even especially over the last few years, I've just been seeing many more Hispanics just getting into the sport and rooting for Daniel. It's I don't mind it either way. Like I've been a fan for 10 years and I'm used to it, but it's certainly, I would say in a sense it's odd because like I said, like 12 years ago, dude, during that's the first year of the Gen 6, bro. We'd probably be one of like 2 or 3 Hispanic families that I'd ever see at a NASCAR race ever. And
Right.
it's so neat to see like new markets getting tapped in that sense. And
Yeah.
we go crazy for anything as long as we have someone successful in that sport. You should have seen the years when Perez was seen as when Sergio Perez was in Formula One and he was doing well. Like the fans went ballistic. I mean, you could even hear it on the broadcast on the CW for the Xfinity race, bro. People went ballistic. It's a big thing. It's a big thing, especially when you have someone of your nation representing you into that. And that's why I guess it's like similar to what I was saying earlier. It means so much more to see him win, especially like I said, I've been a fan of him since I was 12, 13, and it just means a lot. Truly.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think racing is for everybody. Like a lot of people say, NASCAR or even Formula One or anything, it's just cars going around in circles. But I mean, it's the simplest dang thing. Just get to the line first. As long as you have an emotional tie to it, like you can get into it. And I feel like there's so much potential for so many people to get into racing. And I think anybody can be a racing fan. Like I said, anybody. Like racing is for everyone. But I've had some interesting experiences, like going to races in the past like 3 years. I've seen it's a very diverse crowd, especially here in the South, and that's awesome to see. There's people that they walk past you and they're not even speaking English, like they're speaking Russian or I don't know, some other thing, and like that's awesome. But then I'm sitting in the stands at Talladega, and granted, Talladega is like the most redneck of redneck racetracks, but there's this black family sitting to the right of me, and they're sitting there cheering on Chase Elliott. They're sitting there cheering on Bubba Wallace, and they're having the time of their lives. And then sitting right behind us is this dude with a ball cap that's got a rebel flag on it that says "Kiss my rebel." And I guess I'm going to sensitivity training for real now. But like they turn around, that's what they see, and it's like, are they going to come back to a race, or maybe they'll just watch on TV next time and not support the track? So that's like what we're up against. And then I also took, and this is maybe a little bit more of a personal thing. My stepdad is a trans man, and I took him to a race at Atlanta. He actually bought me a ticket for Christmas. Bought me a ticket to the first Atlanta race in the Gen 7 car. And we're sitting there, and there's this old redneck guy sitting there to the left of us. And he is flipping off Joey Logano every single lap. He's flipping the bird to this guy. And then he starts yelling. He starts calling him the F slur. And he's calling Joey Logano, a little F slur, right? So my stepdad's a trans man, so we had to sit and listen to that for 3 hours. And are you going to change that at like a racetrack? No. Is that going to be something that's going to instantly go away? There's always going to be that, like that energy. And I think we should have, a Southern flair and, redneckness to racing. But like, I feel like that's something that is kind of, it's a stigma. And like I haven't even been a fan that long. I've been a fan for less than you guys. And I've seen that. It didn't take me too long. So I think racing is for everybody, and it should be. But like, there's certain things that are keeping some people from becoming fans, I think. So that's why I think it's so awesome to see the crowd in Mexico City like loving it. Like there are kids and there are like teenagers and adults. I mean, they're probably going to watch this weekend, and they're going to be that's like core memories. So yeah, all the power to them.
Yeah, I have a kind of a similar memory. This guy wasn't hurting anybody, like the other guy was, but I can't remember. This had to have been the first race I went to, and this was Gen 6 car. Logano had won this race. It was rainy, so I'm sure it was the spring one. But I went, and there was this guy sitting behind my dad and I, and this dude was just blasted, like hammered, just not belligerent because he wasn't being a dick or anything, but like he leaned forward to my dad and I at one point. This dude was like, "Y'all having fun? Y'all having cars are?" And I still have the hat. Give me a second. I can show
What?
you. But this dude gave me a Mountain Dew Dale Jr. hat. It's the hat this guy gave me.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, this sounds like a Marta subway story.
Yeah. This dude was just a riot, and I don't remember the rest of it, but I'll talk to my dad telling me years later, he's like, "Yeah, this guy was hammered. Like he was animated behind us. Like I guess having the time of his life. I don't remember if he was there with anybody, but this dude was apparently just being a riot."
Right. I mean, that's cool. I think that we should have that. Obviously, not go too far, but like that is cool to see the energy, like just a raw emotion, like somebody being excited for something so simple as cars going fast. That's like you're not looking at your phone. You're just looking at a marvel of human engineering and physics, and they're competing, doing that. Like that's the simplest form of like coolness, in my opinion, and just like excitement.
Yeah, I think that was summed up the best. I think I would stumble upon a few words and like not be able to describe it well, but I think you summed it up really nicely. For me, it's just racing in general, man. It's just something that for me, it's just you can't put words into it. I can't use words to describe it. It's just you have to be there and feel it.
Yeah, dude. There's nothing like the feeling of first walking and witnessing the racetrack. Like there's like a gut. Like there's something in my gut that like it flips, like it does somersaults just looking at a racetrack for the first time.
In a while, especially. Like
Yeah,
for example, like even like say like us in Atlanta in a few weeks, bro. We're just gonna walk. I'm just gonna walk in and I'm just gonna get that feeling. I'm like, man, ah,
yeah. It's been
so
too
good.
long. That's why I try to like fill up the gaps between the big races with like short tracks or going to like events and stuff, like when possible, because life is tough. But like as much as possible, racing events because there's a lot of that. Obviously, like to go and watch a good like short track race, it's kind of far from us. But like if you look it up, I mean they're out there. You know, probably
Well,
within it.
in all the
Cordell,
there's East Alabama Motor Speedway. It's about 30 minutes from me, and I did look into it the other day. Not not only because I wanted to. I was watching Earnhardt. It's like, how hard is it for me to like get a car, and get in and get on the track and try this?
Yeah,
And first of all, those cars are expensive. I was looking at the 603 Charger class, and they're big block motors, and they're the ones that are kind of built sideways, the dirt track cars. So they're pricey. I was looking at them; they're like 30 grand. It's like, well, I guess I'll have to get a real job before I do that. But they do events all the time.
and dude, you're paying for tires and gas and
Yep.
rebuilding that car every single weekend.
Yep.
They say nobody profits in racing. Doesn't
no,
even
no.
matter where you're at.
I've heard a quote from Jack Roush: "To make a small fortune in racing, you have to spend a big fortune." I think that's
Yeah.
the best way to describe it.
I've heard a similar thing. Is if you ever want to be a millionaire, start with $1 billion and buy a race team.
I've heard that too. I don't. That's a funny one though. I like that.
Yeah,
That one's
about
good.
apparently.
That's funny. One day. I feel like every race fan just has that fantasy though. It's like when they keep telling themselves one day. But I swear, I'm gonna be the one that does it. One day. Never happens. I die. Never sat in a race car.
Brutal.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of racing and being fans of racing and watching and following and everything, what did you guys think about the races that went on between now and the last time we did the podcast? So that would be Michigan, the most recent, then Nashville, and then the Coke 600. So Michigan, Denny, Nashville, Blaney, and then Coke 600, Ross Chastain.
Michigan, the theatrics at the end are something to be said. The next level kind of trolling is really funny. I'm not exactly sure how Denny is an Ohio State fan, being from Virginia, but the Ohio State trolling in Michigan was pretty fun. I mean, they had some pretty good, racing in Michigan, and kind of a trend that I'll probably get back into later is the Hamlin versus Byron for the lead kind of deal that's been happening the last 3 races. In Michigan, Denny finally got one. I think, Nashville ended up being Blaney, and then Coke 600, Ross ended up sneaking in. But I think the 24 versus the 11 has been pretty fun to watch in the last 3.
Yeah, Byron's been on it. I mean, he won only the Daytona 500, and I don't remember who said it in some podcast. It might have been in the teardown or something, but somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I think he won." Maybe no, it was Real Radman in his video. He was talking about recapping the season. He was like, "Oh, but Byron, I'm pretty sure he won 3 races," and I'm sitting there screaming in my head, "No, he has not," but it feels like he has. Like he is a top dog, a top contender. And if we're going to talk about who's at the top of the board right now, I mean, you got obviously Bell, who's got the 3 wins, but he's kind of not really shown. He hasn't really been in contention, at least not as much as in the early season. So really, to me, based on the eye test, the top dogs are like Byron, Larson, and Hamlin. You could add Bell in there, but those are the guys. Like they're our title fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think Darlington probably. I know the reason why people think he should have won like 3 races. I mean, you got to think about the 600, and you could especially think about the Goodyear 400 at Darlington this year as well. Absolutely dominating the race, and then some shenanigans later, Hamlin wins it out. Ironically enough, since we were talking about this 24-11 battle so far, but. The only race that I've been able to
24-11.
24-11 maybe.
Kind of that sounded really weird when you said it, because I was like thinking in my head, what? That is something's not computed.
I mean, I was just talking about like the battle kind of, but yeah. But Michigan, I didn't get to watch most of it. I listened to it briefly on MRN, but like I've been so busy with life recently. Same for Nashville, was a very similar case. The only one that I properly sat down for and got to watch was the 600, and that was and I enjoyed that race a lot. You know, I think that especially with the next gen on intermediates have always have for the most part delivered, and you know Charlotte's no exception, at least the oval. And I remember it was brutal to see Suárez get wrecked in that. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean it happens. And it was still an incredible dogfight for Hocevar up until his engine blew.
Dude, Hocevar. Oh my gosh. The past 4 races, he has nonstop been in the headlines for good and bad.
That man needs a win. That man needs a win this season. He is 2022 Ross Chastain mixed with Dale Earnhardt, mixed with
maybe a little Jeff Gordon in there.
Like he's had the speed. Hate that some of the things that have happened have kept him from victory lane. Like there's been a couple pit stop mishaps, and there's been a couple. He's been wrecked, like especially at Michigan. Yeah, I think was it Michigan or Texas where he got wrecked towards the end. It might have been both, honestly. But yeah, I think he needs a win. He deserves. He's had the speed. I think he deserves to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was Scarlet Engine, Nashville. He finished second, which is freaking cool. But he led laps in all 3, and then Michigan, it was a tire. I want to say.
Yeah, it was. It was because he was staying out. He wasn't going to win that race anymore because he was staying out on that kind of last ditch strategy. But tires, I do remember that.
Man, imagine if he won that in Michigan. That would be like that. It wouldn't be as like Daniel Suárez winning in Mexico. But it would be approaching that, I would say, and it being Hocevar's first win. Like that would have been really special. And his track is legendary as Michigan too.
We need more 200-mile-an-hour tracks. I'm saying.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah. That it is just to say they're going like 210 miles an hour. It's something special.
It's also it's a staple of NASCAR. You know, a lot of the lesser the fans that have either stopped paying attention in the new gen or kind of the lesser into the sport. You say NASCAR, people think of the Superbird that did 200 miles an hour and the 210 mile an hour. I think that's fifth gen. The car tomorrow, that generation around Atlanta doing 210 at 9,000 RPM, and you know cars that have been doing over 200 miles an hour since the 60s, and now they've put sticker plates on them. They do have. I mean, initially they had good reasoning for that, but yeah, we need to get the 200-mile-an-hour back. That makes great racing. It's amazing to watch things go that fast. And I know the difference between 180 and 200. A lot of people just 20 miles an hour, but you just got to think where the sport was. Like I said, the Superbird doing 200 miles an hour in the 70s. You gotta bring some of that back.
I agree. Make the cars faster, make them harder to drive. This is NASCAR, dang it, and we're safer than we ever have been. What's the problem here? You know?
I don't know about the safest we've ever been. We took some steps back. We took some steps back with this car, but you know, it's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Well, we're safer. You were safer than when we first started achieving those speeds, I would say.
This is true. That is a fact.
I mean, we were running like back in the first time we went to Michigan with this car. I mean, the broadcast they were making like 215, no problem, down the backstretch. Like, yeah, we need that. That's what we like to see.
Thing is, too, these cars have more downforce, so they're worried about these things catching air. But these are less likely to do that than the gen before and the gen before that. Even they've got so much more downforce. Now they have more mechanical grip than the other ones did. So I think NASCAR being conservative with having power is I don't think it's founded anymore. I think towards the start of the next gen, where they had the rigidity problems, and they had the a couple of those wrecks. I think this was I think Harvick had one where he got T-boned pretty hard. Larson was involved. Like that I can understand that, but now they've fixed these issues, and I don't think that I don't think there's a foundation for them being so hesitant to put power in these things.
I might have to disagree with you on that. Because I don't know. The bigger reason why these cars are flying is because of our source of downforce, which is the diffuser. I think that and the underbody is what's more often than not causing these cars to fly. Because I mean, look, race cars fly. That's inevitable. But at the rate that these things are flying, bro, especially like at Michigan, maybe you can attribute to a windy day. But I mean, we saw it in the very first race of the next gen, the way Harrison Burton got sideways and immediately flipped over in the 2022 Daytona 500. We can talk about Michael McDowell last fall, and even Josh Berry in that exact same race, and the Priest the year prior. I think there's a Adrian Priest this year. I mean, when have you ever seen a car get nose up, get the air the way it did, and then flip over like that? It's unorthodox, and part of it also has to do with how the suspension is made on these cars, the way they kind of ramp off, similar to like open wheel cars in a sense. Because I mean, you could see it even at the Clash this year with Ty Gibbs. You remember he got a little bit of air. I forgot who he was beefing with, but that car got a bit of air. And
where?
Huh?
Where was it? Where?
Did I say North?
Right?
Did I say North Wilkesboro or did I say the Clash?
I think
it was the Clash, but I wasn't sure what I said. But I meant to say the Clash at Bowman Gray. That's what I meant to say. And it's like, I could see why they're hesitant to do it, but at the same time, I don't know. Regardless of whether people are hesitant or not, I don't think horsepower is inherently the big fix that everyone's talking about. I think it is. It would help. I'm not saying it isn't. Horsepower always helps. It will always help. But I think the bigger issues lie underneath, whether it's the diffuser and the underbody, which can't be removed because that's a big source of the downforce of these cars. To take off the floor and the diffuser would be similar to taking off the rear wing of an open wheel car. Yeah. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And
What would happen if because I know you're a big fan of the the classic underbody, but like if that happened, I mean, wouldn't that jeopardize our great mile and a half racing?
I don't know. I just think the cars would be there would be borderline undrivable if we took off the underbody and the diffuser.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've ever played the F1 games or anything like that. I know
Yeah.
it's not the best metric of a reference, but just imagine just getting some rear wing damage on the F1 games, and then try driving it around for a few laps like you were driving it normally. It is undrivable. It is almost an unrecognizable car, and I think that's the bigger problem, the underlying issue with this. But I don't know. I know, I know there've been rumors about the talks about horsepower, but again, I mean, it would help, but it's not it's not the big fix that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about it to be, because I think we need to remove the tire. We need to make the tires thinner, and then
Agreed.
I think something else would probably be get rid of SMT data, or NASCAR data as it's called, the data as it's formerly called now. I don't know. I don't particularly. It doesn't bother me too much what it's called, but I think that's a bigger problem. Um that's stunting like the possibility of I guess more unique racing in a sense, because everyone just tends to follow the same line now. It's a bit more complicated than that. Obviously, it's not as black and white as I'm making it sound, but it's still a problem, and I'm sure most people in the garage would agree with that. That SMT data is not the move, and having everyone have access to it at once. Not the
Yeah,
move.
that's an interesting argument. Honestly, I haven't heard anyone have that stance before. At least, not that I can think of. Like in like podcasting or like on the broadcast or just in journalism. Like I haven't seen that before. Calling for the data to go away.
I've seen some drivers talk about it, and I think maybe this isn't the best. Maybe this isn't the best driver to go off of, without due respect. But I heard Josh Williams talk about it as well when his few starts with Colleague in the Cup Series. But I mean, I'm sure if you went fishing around, some people would be inclined to agree or disagree that it would make the racing better. It just depends on who you ask.
I can understand the viewpoint. My only thing with that is how are you gonna completely what's the word I'm looking for, restrict what these teams can and can't see? Because I mean, as the old saying goes, if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. They can say all they want. Oh, you can't have this computer system with you, or you can't have this with you. They're going to find ways to figure out this data in this day
Yeah.
and age. They're going to figure out ways to see what they want to see. So my only thing is, if that is the solution, how do you do that? How do you restrict people from seeing all that stuff? And
Yeah.
not even current issue with the. Sorry to interrupt, but I just
No,
have
you're
one.
good.
But it might even make the current issue with the front running teams worse, because those smaller teams may not have the resources to figure out how to see what other people can't see. And I think that takes kind of some of the fun out of the racing. It's like with Josh Berry, I know Wood Brothers is a Penske car essentially, but I mean, even so, they're a smaller team. It was great to see him compete, inspire racing with Osavar, and even Trackhouse. I know they're a little bigger now, but it's fun to see those cars compete up front.
Yeah, I agree with you, like 100% about with the data point, because like, I mean, what do we lose? The good things that come from that, like being able to actually create officiating calls from it, or the small teams being able to close the gap. Yeah, you take it away from them, they're going to find a way to do it. Anyways, is the point, I guess. But like, if we took it away from a lot of the teams, like maybe there would be a little bit of a scramble to um, make up for that for a little bit. But just like how the teams are getting used to the Gen 7 car, they're gonna get used to it. They're gonna find a way. It's gonna go right back. We're gonna have the big three: Penske, Hendrick, Gibbs, and then we'll be right back to where we're at. I think it's better to capitalize on the good things in the sport. But the key thing that I'm taking from you, Uriel, where I do agree with you, is like there's a problem here that needs to be fixed. That doesn't go away at all.
Yeah.
But with the data fix it, I'm not going to say like I'm not like out here thinking like it won't. But I guess I maybe take Wiley's side a little bit more on this one. I suppose.
My
Never-
counterpoint. Oh, you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I never disagreed. I do think that there's a problem. My only point was just how do you officiate that? How do you do that?
My thing, I guess it didn't exist 5 years ago. So I mean, I'm sure NASCAR could find a way. I don't know if it's the best way that they'd find it, but they'd find a way probably. But my counterpoint is, although like we've had these cars bridge the gap, we still see the same guys winning week in and week out. But I think my bigger thing with the data is, in essence, the field's so tightly knit together in a sense, and I think all the drivers just kind of almost like copy the same line in essence. It's a bit more complicated than that, but in essence, that's what we're essentially making who can be the best driver in this specific lane, as opposed, I guess it's a bit more complicated than that, of course, but like without SMT data, we would see people who have the most talent actually more often than not come out ahead. And I mean, for the most part, that still somewhat happens. I mean, we could see with people like Larson and stuff like that. And Bell, of course, but I don't know. I think you see it at a much more minimized scale with their talent being displayed in a sense, because of everyone just copies the same exact line as everyone else, because everyone has the information of when they lift, when they brake, and whatnot, and when they get back on the throttle. There's no variation, there's no I guess there is still varying driving styles, but you get what I mean. Like everyone tries to run the track the same way, and in essence, it makes it harder to pass.
So why did it go from SMT to just the data?
I forgot the logistics behind it, but I think it had to do with NASCAR being in control of the data now, and that's why it's just called the data. But it's still basically this. It's still the same thing. It's just differently who runs it and who has access and who runs it basically in essence, or who do you get it from?
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I think it's an experiment. I think just like with NASCAR, how they tried going without stage breaks, stage cautions and stuff for a little bit. I think that's totally a route they could go. Like at least try it out, see if it helps. Maybe look at it as a long term, and then if it doesn't, then we can always go back, just like we did with the stage cautions. I see no harm in doing that. I think it's a cool thing to explore for sure. But you did mention drivers. It's the same guys running up front a lot. But past couple races, I mean, in some of the series, we haven't seen that. And to wrap up the general discussion portion of the podcast, I wanted to talk about, since we already talked about Carson Hocevar, I just want to talk about anyone else that has done really well in the past couple races or won, like, for example, Ryan Blaney. Of course, we should probably talk about Stuart Friesen, too, winning in trucks. So talk about the same guys running up front. Well, I mean, Stuart Friesen's good, but he's not exactly your usual winner, I would say.
I think I'll kind of start with Michael McDowell. I think he's had some flashes of being up front this year. Kind of in Mexico brought that back up. He's a good road courser. I think in a couple of races he'll probably have maybe some top tens. Mexico kind of had some stuff happen, but he still finished well. And then Texas, he was racing for the win, got crashed out. He's shown some flashes at Spire. It's good to see.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of Spire, okay, we talk about Michael McDowell doing really awesome, Hocevar doing great. Where is Justin Haley? What happened to him? Rest in peace. Like it's like he's not even running. Like he was supposed to be like the next greatest thing, and he's finally got a good ride. and he's also in their flagship car. What's going on? Justin Haley, come on.
I've heard that the 7 is a dumpster fire. I think that's what I've been heard. It's not very stable over there, specifically with the 7 team, especially with Rodney Childers up and leaving. I think the team's I wouldn't say it's in disarray, but it's a tough look. I mean, you even have Dio Jr. Talking about it, so it's I have sympathy for the guy. I don't know. It's hard. It seems hard to defend, but you know, it's so easy to judge from the outside when you don't when one never truly knows what's going on behind the scenes. I'm looking this up just to make sure I'm not tweaking about the SMT stuff. It says that the data has become SMT data has been around for a while, but it's become more prevalent because it's become more available to the teams, to all those smaller teams, and especially with the next gen being the exact same car, the exact same chassis, apart from the bodies and the engines. It's that's when it's become much more of a problem. So it's more to do with like the fact that it's a spec series in a sense. For the sake of knowledge and making sure I'm not spreading misinformation on the podcast, because that's what I just did in essence. They said they also talked about how they also talked about that hold on. The bigger thing is like I think the bigger problem, I think, now that I'm trying to understand is it's the parity. I know I've seen a lot of my friends talk about it, that with the parity and the access to the SMT data, it makes it a lot harder to pass. And although the racing isn't bad,
So
it has room to grow.
It's a Gen 7 issue then.
Yeah. A lot of it, in essence, a lot of it is a Gen 7 issue in essence. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm just concerned about putting this on, and then eventually me making it, and this surfaces, and then I'm like, man, this guy was an idiot talking about it. That's my concern about it, and like maybe setting a bad digital footprint. I don't know.
Hey, never claimed to be professionals, man.
What'd you say?
So we never claimed to be professionals.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be. So this is a bad look for
Right.
me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I guess you got to kind of strike a balance between your Monday morning quarterback, feeling like how dudes that watch the races, and then like actually trying to build this into something professional. I think it's definitely a good thing to consider.
Yeah. So
good on
yeah,
you.
I definitely spread misinformation on that. So if you include this on the podcast, I apologize.
Okay. Well,
Sorry about that. Now we can go back.
Well, before we move on, Uriel, you got any drivers you want to talk about? I just want to make sure we don't stay too long on part one, because I think we are nearly an hour into it.
I mean, we touched on Hocevar, we touched on Friesen, we touched on Haley. Yeah, I think those are the hottest. Those are some guys that that have been in the news for a bit, especially Hocevar and Haley, for sure. So I think you've covered most of the things.
Yeah.
I see you're gonna cover some more things in part 2 anyways, so we'll get there when we get there.
Right. I guess something I did skip, in case you guys maybe got were thinking about it, but least favorite. Just try to be as quick as possible. Least favorite for me was seeing Bowman struggle. Obviously, he got that runner-up finish. Or it was a runner-up, right, at Mexico?
No.
Third.
Bell got second at Mexico. Elliott got third in Mexico.
Bowman was fourth, I thought.
Yeah, he was fourth.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why in my head I was thinking it was a runner-up, but still seeing
He was
that
running second for a good bit. That's
right.
probably why.
Yeah, but like before that, seeing him struggle, was kind of like distressing, because he was being really consistent and doing pretty good in the early portion of the season. So that would be my least favorite in the past 4 races, really.
Least favorite moment for me. I don't know. Least favorite moment would probably be. This is incredibly biased, but Suárez's qualifying speed. I feel like, I don't know. It's really weird with how he's performing. He either unloads with very minimal speed, or he qualifies well, and it's nowhere in the race. It's a very odd situation to be in.
Yeah. Versus SVG and Chastain qualifying pretty good, pretty fast at Mexico.
Yeah, no, I was talking about more at the oval specifically, but yeah,
Yeah.
in Mexico, I think it's its own unique case, its own thing.
Right.
But, yeah.
What about you, Arlie?
Nashville. I think I ranted in the group chat a little bit about this, but the 9 at Nashville, I think that is the most irrationally angry I've ever been watching a race, just because he had top 10 speed for a little bit, and then for some reason they decided to go or late in stage 2. Well, he was leading too. I think this is why it made me so mad. He was leading for a while, and they decided to stay out in stage 2, and then they decided to pit anyway, which to me defeats the purpose of staying out to the end of stage 2, because now you don't get those points, and you're not in a position to win. So that was frustrating, and then the continued pit road issue, and then another elephant in the room, the restart issue. Every restart at Nashville, he lost at least 2 spots. I was keeping track. Either he lost 2 spots. I think the most one he lost 5, and that was he just had no restart ability. It's like he just wouldn't press the gas. I think that's just overall is my least favorite part. And again, probably biased because I'm a 9 fan. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still, y'all wouldn't worry too hard, man. I wouldn't worry too about it being biased. I mean, it's your least favorite moment for a reason. I mean, I mentioned something about Suárez, so don't fret too hard.
Yeah. I mean, Elliott's gonna have his day.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Elliott friends. Elliott fans. I have a lot of friends who are Elliott fans, and their happiness gets their mood tends to diminish pretty quickly as the race goes on. But I mean, hey, I'm in a similar boat with the Elliott fans, man. So it ain't so bad.
Yeah.
We're suffering together.
If anything, like, I don't know, I'd feel pretty good to be an Elliott fan. Just, I mean, his points position right now. I mean, he's really.
I mean, beggars can't be choosers. He's number 1 in points alone, or I guess in the playoff standings, he's the first driver on points who doesn't have a win. So I mean, I might just be a little bit of a spoiled rich fan, I guess you could say, like a lot of Alabama fans are in their last. But yeah, I just wish he would have a win. Like he's been up front some points during races. He just hasn't been able to seal the deal. Something has always happened, especially this season.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty good. Yeah. Well, all right, with that, we can move on to part 2, which is silly season and news which has happened within the past 3 weeks and 4 weeks. And oddly enough, there is a heck of a lot of stuff that has happened. The first thing, the big bombshell, which is worth talking about, is Ram is back in NASCAR, Chrysler in general, and Dodge in 2027 projected, and Ram in 2026. I don't think it's too. I don't think I really have to say anything more about how I feel about it. I mean, I feel like every NASCAR fan is for it. I don't know anybody who wouldn't be. Yeah,
I'm hyped, bro. It's really nice to see. It's got me speculating what teams could possibly jump to Dodge once they make the jump to the Cup Series. It's got me a lot of. Well, are you asking what I think?
Yeah. What teams do you think?
I think this is gonna be like it might be crazy to some, but I think Trackhouse is gonna make that jump.
I don't think that's.
What?
I think Trackhouse is gonna make that jump.
Really? You think so?
I think so. I could see it.
Maybe. I mean, they're struggling, but they're also not at the same time.
I don't know. I honestly think that. I think like they're like in Chevy, there's like a certain hierarchy, and I think like Spire has jumped both RCR and Trackhouse in that sense.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a matter of time, but I could see it. I could see him jumping the Dodge.
Hendrick's not going anywhere. Spire's not. RCR definitely is not because they're legacy Chevy. So really, yeah, that leaves us with just Trackhouse in Hayek, whatever.
Hayek.
That's basically it. I think that could, unless we're talking about Ford or Toyota moving, and there's really no teams that I don't think would, unless like.
What about
Penske?
I know Legacy just moved to Toyota, but with Jimmy Johnson, I think they might be fairly eager to jump on the new manufacturer, new OEM, new resources train. Like I know they haven't been doing terrible lately. I think one or the other of their drivers has been top 15 in the last couple of races, but they're definitely not in the spotlight. And I think it would be similar reason for them to have switched away from Chevy because, you know, Toyota, there's 2311 and Joe Gibbs. They're they're the third there. Just kind of how Trackhouse is almost third, maybe second or third with the Chevy resources too. That's why I don't think Trackhouse is too crazy to say that they'll move to Dodge either.
That's fair.
What are on this? I could see Penske moving if they have a serial fallout with Ford. I don't see again. I don't see a serial fallout with Ford ever happening anytime soon. But I mean, think about it like this. I mean, when Dodge rejoined the Cup Series in 01, I mean, Penske stayed with Ford up until 2003, and then they made the jump to Dodge and stayed with them until the bitter end when Dodge left in 2012. And I'm saying there's history there. Do I see them ever switching? No, but I mean, we can note that there's history. I'm not saying they're going to switch. I'm just saying there's history, and that's I'll leave it at that. I don't see them actually switching though, but again, you never know. Crazier things have happened.
What about you, Taylor? Who you think might make the swap?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, there's been some crazy things that have happened in NASCAR, like Kyle Busch going to RCR. Nobody would have ever predicted that. So you really just don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Dodge going to Penske would not be the craziest thing that could happen with this. So I have no idea. I mean, I feel like you're probably right. Trackhouse is probably more of the likely. Hayek is probably also likely. Legacy likely too. RFK is an interesting one. Obviously, they have that connection with Brad winning the championship for them, their last. And their
Jack Roush. Oh, sorry. I don't want to say Jack Roush is a hardcore Ford loyalist. RFK is never switching.
That's the problem.
Unless Roush Fenway somehow, or unless Jack Roush specifically, backs out of that team entirely, there's no way in hell that team is switching from Ford. But so I could see Legacy maybe, but they have so many Toyota sponsors. They have so many Toyota prospects as well. I mean, they had Corey Heim for a few races when Eric Jones was injured. Eric Jones, former Toyota prospect, albeit after a few years removed from his time at RPM in the Chevy or Petty GMS even in 22. And then Nemechek, who was ripping off a lot of wins in Xfinity and now just is finally coming into his own in the Cup Series, to a fair amount at least. So I don't see Legacy switching, but maybe Hayek for sure.
Haas.
Dodd. I could see it. I think right now I've heard they're like a pseudo fourth car in essence to RFK, but I mean crazier things have happened. And then front row. I don't know. I think they just got their big Ford support this year, and I don't see them changing it anytime soon. Or they got a lot more increased Ford support.
I think Trackhouse and Hayek are probably the most probable, just because Chevy is so saturated, but Ford and Toyota don't really have as many programs going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like I said, like you have no idea. Who knows what'll happen? We're gonna breaking news. Hendrick. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
I was about to say, for all we know, Mr. Hendrick could sell all his Chevy dealership stock and start with the Chrysler ones, which I think would be a bad idea.
That would be the worst thing to ever happen. This is the least probable prediction ever made in the history of mankind, I would say.
All the things that didn't happen, this didn't happen.
Hell would freeze over before that happens, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, talking about hell freezing over, we thought that a new manufacturer coming into NASCAR, it'd be hell freezing over before that. But I've heard rumors of the fifth. Talks about Honda. I know you were skeptical, Uriel, but what y'all thinking about Honda coming in? Or could it be Hyundai? However you want to say it. What do you think?
I might be a little biased. Honda could be cool, just based on their IndyCar influence. I don't want to see a Hyundai Sonata race around a NASCAR track. I think it would make me sick just a little bit. That'd be gross.
I don't see either of them happening. To be honest with you, I don't see Hyundai doing it, especially since they've just now started. They just now had an interest in. I think they recently started development on their LMDH/LMH hypercar project for the World Endurance Championship. So I don't see them seriously considering NASCAR now that they just dipped their feet into a new sector of motorsports.
You just talking
Hyundai,
okay.
or Hyundai, however some people pronounce it. But yeah, but Honda though, I heard rumors about Honda potentially leaving IndyCar actually, and they're also coming back to Formula One in 2026.
With what team?
And with Aston Martin, they struck a factory engine deal.
That's so weird when you have a manufacturer building another manufacturer's engines. Like Aston Martin's a car manufacturer, so it's really weird to me when that happens.
McLaren for a while.
I mean, McLaren still has Mercedes power units. So
yeah, that's so weird. But I get it.
Even the new Cadillac Formula One entry is going to be using Ferrari power units for a few years before making their own, and by 2028, 2029, give or take.
Do they have a driver for that yet, or no?
No, they haven't announced it yet, but everyone's speculating. But I don't know. I think the talks about Honda coming in is all talk, honestly, and I think same for Hyundai. I don't see it. I think we were lucky enough to get a fourth OEM right now with Dodge. So I'm not gonna sit here be too ambitious about it. I'm grateful for that.
Right,
Dodge coming back. So
yeah,
that's how I do it.
With all the things Cadillac has been doing lately, with their hypercar, the F1 entry, I know it's kind of not super likely because at this point it'd be stretching resources, but it'd be kind of cool to see, kind of like in the older days, the two GM OEMs in there. Because there used to be Chevy and Pontiac and Chevy and Oldsmobile, all that. People keep saying it's like, oh, there's not going to be two GM OEMs. They're not going to let two GM OEMs, but they have before. I think a lot of people forget that. I think a CT5 stock car would look sick.
Yeah. Just keep it in the GM stable. Just switch Trackhouse to Cadillacs, and the rest of them run Chevy. Wouldn't that be just like the coolest dang thing?
God, it would be. I think of a CT5 Blackwing Gen 7 stock car, like people making them on Instagram, and I have not seen a bad looking one.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Well, I don't know. While there was a time where they had multiple GM or Ford or even Chrysler or Stellantis, whatever you want to call them, OEMs at the same time in NASCAR. I think that was just a product of its time when they were having intercompany rivalries and stuff like that. But I think, unfortunately, these are long behind us, and especially now that I think there is confirmation that they're going to have a unique, a new Chevrolet Camaro body for 2026.
Yeah,
I don't see any possibility of a second of like any other like OEM that doesn't already have. Like I don't see another General Motors OEM joining. I don't see any new Ford OEM joining. And even if Dodge joins, the odds of Chrysler joining, I don't see it at all. Even if it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was cool to see, especially in the '80s, dude. Imagine having to pick between a Pontiac, a Buick, an Olds, or a Chevy. But I think those days, I think those are just different times, and they're unfortunately behind us.
Yeah,
that's how I view it.
It's a good point you make, especially within Stellantis, especially. Well, I guess maybe not so much now because it could still be up in the air with that CEO stepping down, that awful dude that tried to phase out the Hemi. But GM, they had a round of it even in the '60s, where they wouldn't let brands race cars or wouldn't let brands within GM make cars with more than a certain amount of horsepower. Like back in a different world of racing, but back in the '60s. With the Corvette Grand Sport, and it was a secret project for a while, and then to compete with the Cobra. And there's only about 6 of them left because the top brass found out about the project and crushed all of them. But I mean, it could go either way. Like I see the point, especially now with maybe political climate's not the word for this, but the business model, not. A lot of brands don't want intra-brand competition right now. I mean, that's been a thing before. So really, I could see either side.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Uriel, but I mean, yeah, you're right. You never know, And I really wanted to ask you how you feel about the whole Camaro situation, both on track and off track.
I am glad that they are not phasing it out. I'm kind of excited, really hyped to see what the design change is. It could be really ugly. I can acknowledge that possibility because it is GM and they made the Blazer look like a Lexus and they made the Silverado look like a tractor. So there's a possibility they could fumble it, but I'm kind of excited that they're at least putting effort into it, and that there's a possibility of another Gen Camaro coming out. But the other edge of that sword is that it could be like what Dodge decided to do with the Charger, what Ford decided to do with the Mustang, where they just make it something that it was not before. I wouldn't hate to see, like I've seen rumors of kind of a Camaro aimed more at the sports car, more affordable market, kind of in the same way that a Miata is, but not entirely, if that makes sense. And the thing I've been thinking that they would do with that is throw in like a 5.3, like the smaller, cheaper end of their V8 line. Throw that in a Camaro, have it make somewhere around 400 horsepower, but kind of bring back its racing haunches if that makes any sense at all, like with the Trans Am cars. And make it kind of a shuckable sports car with a V8 rear drive than a muscle car. I think that could be cool if they do it right. I don't want to see a hybrid Camaro unless they do like what they did with the ZR1 and the E-Ray, where they keep the V8 power and just, throw in the motors and have to spot. But I don't know. I could be biased. I don't like electric cars, but I think if they do it right, which is a lot to ask of GM lately, except for, of course, the Vet that they just unveiled. That was a good one.
Yeah, X or whatever it is, the R1X.
That they didn't fumble that one, but yeah. I could see it go either way. I'm being cautiously optimistic because of how the climate with Dodge has been, where the EV Charger just did not receive the welcome and the market that they thought it would. The Mach-E sales reportedly kind of slowing down. Again, I could see it going either way. I'm cautiously optimistic that they won't make it electric or a hybrid. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. You have any?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's really awkward, like to call it a Chevrolet, and that's it. Like I think they call it a Chevrolet ZL1, They don't
Yeah.
even Camaro. It's just Camaro doesn't exist. And it's weird because, they say you win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Well, they can't do that now. And
Yeah,
technically, they gave them like a grace to do it because you're supposed to have a production model, but they're giving them grace for that because Chevy doesn't make actual cars unless you count the Corvette. So like the traditionalist in me doesn't like that part of it, but the car person in me just hates the fact that they're playing this game with a legendary nameplate like the Camaro because, like, I mean, the Dodge, they released like the final edition or whatever for when the freaking
Hellcat, the Charger.
and now, yeah, and okay, they're just playing this game and like it just feels like they're just trying to, tap into everybody's heartstrings, and then they go and release something, and then it's either going to be a letdown or it's going to be great, but it just feels like a game. Like you shouldn't be toying around with like the same nameplate that went to Le Mans with Garage 56, the same nameplate that legends of our sport, current legends, have driven. The Trans Am, drag racing, like why are you toying around with that? I guess.
Yeah, and I was seeing some things about Chevrolet possibly using their NASCAR platform, whatever they decide to do with it, to market more of what most of their audience strives. Like I was seeing, I don't know who this was. This was multiple different accounts on Instagram that were talking about the Chevy, how the market for the Camaro and stuff like that is dying, and a lot of Chevy owners are driving the Suburban and the Tahoe and the Silverado and the Blazer, but they were going to use their platform kind of just to market to them, which I kind of don't like that. I agree with you. I think if they're going to race something, that they should make something on the street to mirror it, because that is that it seems kind of lazy. It also
Yeah.
It also seems to make it the sentiment that stock cars are not stock cars anymore so much worse than it already was.
Dude, it's so corporate. It's like, okay, the NASCAR is just like an advertisement. Like, we know that's what it is, but don't literally just shamelessly do that. Like,
I mean, they make all their fun stuff based on their racing stuff, and if there's no more fun stuff, then what reason do you have for the racing stuff?
exactly. I mean, the least they could do is do like they did with the SS back in the day, and just make a homologation special, which I think everybody would love that. Just, I don't know what that would be, but like, I don't know, maybe make a. Go ahead.
I said it would get eaten up, especially with the climate of car collecting. Like with all the final editions, there's a Panther edition Camaro. There was Last Call for the Durango, the Hellcat, the Charger, all of them. There's the Dark Horse for the Mustang right now, which is getting pretty bought up and loved. Platform, they did a good thing with it. I think Ford found a good, maybe not price point wise, but performance wise, like that 500 and I believe 60 something horsepower engine. Not something too crazy, but now that the Camaro is not a thing, there's not a whole lot to compete with. Yeah, I mean, I lost my train of thought there. You got thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst business decision ever. I mean, I think it would lend to achieve their goal of selling their brand image even better. Like, it's still Chevrolet on the grill, but at least you can go out and buy that car, that body, that the same technology, or at least some of the same technology, and the same engineering, the same people at the head of this company that's putting the engines in those NASCAR cars are the same people putting the engines in your street car. Just to be able to say that, it's so much cooler if it's that exact model. And then, there's also mystique that comes from that too. Like you mentioned the Superbird in one of our past questions, and like that was a homologation special, but that's like one of the most legendary cars of all time now, and it was like a throwaway just to get in a NASCAR, but it's the coolest damn thing.
And people ate that up when it came out. Like I remember seeing this story about how they were literally throwing sheet metal nose cones and wings on regular Chargers because they couldn't sell them because everybody wanted a Daytona. I remember seeing, and I think if they did it, if Chevy did something similar now, if they do it the right way, it's waiting on money because there's the enthusiast car is dying, and if they make an affordable, back in the day, a Camaro was affordable, and Mustang and all that. They make an affordable sports car, sports muscle car, that people are going to eat that up. I hate that the top GM people don't want to take that. I'm not even going to say it's a risk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we might have some hope with that potentially. I mean, we got all the time in the world. I mean, the industry changes all the time, and I think it's kind of interesting with like the slate truck coming out. Like, there's obviously a fascination or a fixation from consumers for like more simpler products when it comes to cars. So, like, if we can translate the energy that's going into slate truck, who knows if that's going to take off? It doesn't matter. But if we put that same energy into sports cars, like like a Chevrolet Miata, like the same energy that goes into Miata, but you got a car like that, but like you mentioned, put a 5.3 in it. That's like gold right there, and then make it affordable.
I even think then, I think at that point you can come up with another name to put on it. Like, there's going to be everybody that's closed-minded, like, oh, it's not a Camaro. That's not what the Camaro stands for. Which I don't really sit that way. I think as long as it's V8 rear drive, fun to drive, I think you can put it on there. But even then, it's a good chance to let a legend kind of rest in peace, and I think they gain a lot of respect for that. Say, let's take this idea, let's make it a new car, and let's make a new brand for it because there's not a lot of that these days.
So you let the Camaro die?
I mean, it depends. It really does. Like I said, if they decide to go through with that affordable, like, sports muscle car vibe, I wouldn't be upset if they put Camaro on it. But I also think there's something to be said about new ideas, like the slate truck. I'm not an EV fan, but I think that's a good concept. I like the affordability, like dead base affordability, and then the modules you can put on. I think that's a cool idea. It's cool because it's new. And, a lot of, tie this back to NASCAR, we've been off of it for a little bit. But a lot of the appeal of NASCAR was that they put new stuff on the track, like with the homologation special SS, the slick rear window to fix their aero problem. That was cool because that was a new thing. Like, it was a new version of car that was already there. And then you also see things like the Ford Thunderbird or the Ford Torino Talladega. If you want to go even further back, I believe that was a special, more maybe not special edition, limited run, but more of a trim level of the Torino.
Yeah,
it's cool when manufacturers do that because they acknowledge their fans in a way. It's like, hey, this is how we fixed our problem on the track. Do you want to buy this? I think that's cool.
yeah, I'm all for that. Totally. Yeah, we should be the CEOs of NASCAR. We should be part of the ownership at this point. I think we do a better job, I want to say. But I don't know what's going on with Uriel. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, you're there.
No, I have technical issues, so I'll be cameraless for the rest of this podcast.
All right. Let me do something.
I was here listening on this, and I was like, huh. I've been here for like a good 5 to 10 minutes, bro, and I was just hear like everything, the conversation that was going on.
Do you have any thoughts on what Chevy's doing?
I don't know. I I heard you were. I understand where you're coming from. I think I think you're really annoyed at the fact that there's no car that actually represents it out there anymore because they discontinued the Camaro. I guess I'm a bit more shallow-minded, I guess, in a sense with that. I'm just glad that the Camaro body is still existing somewhere, even if it's not officially being made. I think it's just nice to see that they're still making a Camaro body for the stock car because I think it's just it's got a really sleek look to it.
Yeah, I like that they're keeping it. I'm glad they got the grace period. I like the way it looks too. I really do. It's a sleek looking car. If I ever get a chunk of change and a generation of NASCAR, or correction, I want to buy a generation of NASCAR one day, drive it on the street.
Make it
Yeah.
street legal, of course.
Yeah, ignore that one. But I would either buy the current gen Camaro, because you can track that pretty easily. Feel like, or the Xfinity, or was it? When did it change from Bush to Xfinity? Was that
2008. No, wait. You mean Bush to Nationwide or Nationwide to Xfinity?
no? In the Xfinity, so the Xfinity series now. It used to be Bush series.
Because there was a time, it used to be called the Bush Series, then it was called the Nationwide Series from 2008 till 2014, and then it became the Nationwide Series in 2015, or the Xfinity Series in 2015.
Okay, so it must have been nationwide then, because there was a nationwide Xfinity series Camaro that they ran with gen.
Yeah,
And
that was 2013 to 2014. I remember that car. It still had like the iconic Bumblebee taillights from like the first Transformers movie, and I think in 2014 they changed the taillights to like the later ones. Like the around that airtime, but yeah, the iconic Bumblebee taillights that was from in the first Transformers movie. Were on the 2013 and only the 2013 NASCAR Nationwide Series Camaro.
but anyway, going back to it, I do like that they were allowed to run it for a little bit. I love the way it looks. But I moral of the conversation. I'm excited. I'm cautiously optimistic to see what their design change is, and hopefully what on the street side comes with it. That's I'm more excited. Because with the way the Ford did it, they went from GT500 to Dark Horse, which I really liked that design change too. That was pretty cool. Even the Toyota one, I think this one looks a little better than the Camry from before. People disagree with me. I didn't like it at first; kind of grew on me a little bit.
Dude, I loved it from the start. I don't know why. It just like it looks like a cartoon. Like it kind of like ignites like the little kid in me. Like it looks like it looks like an evil cartoon character. Like I was obsessed with like Hot Wheels movies when I was a kid. It looks like a car the bad guys would drive in the Hot Wheels movies.
The
I
current
guess.
Camaro?
Does
The Camry.
Oh, the Camry. Oh, I can see
Yeah.
that. I can see that. Yeah, I see the vision.
or yeah, it could. It does also kind of look like something Iron Man would drive, like in one of the Avengers movies. I think it was both. No, it was definitely just in game. He had the Audi e-tron, but
Captain America.
no, Iron Man had the Audi e-tron.
Okay, because I remember Captain America driving an Audi and that being really wrong to me.
Was it not the R8?
I think he did drive great.
He drove an R8 too. Captain America drove a C7 Corvette, a black one, in multiple of the movies.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, I think
I remember.
you see it, and I think there's one more movie where you see it, but I can't remember which one. It might just be Winter Soldier.
All right. Well, shoot, we are going way off topic, but very good conversation, worth having. But to bring us back, we did already talk about the package and the fact that they're talking about increasing horsepower. So I want to move on to San Diego being potentially added to the NASCAR schedule, and that Chicago may be off, or that Mexico may not be there. The kind of the status of those three tracks is kind of up, or potential dates are up in the air. Whether we go to all three of them, or just one of them, or none of them. Like, who knows? What do you guys think about that?
So I think I mentioned this in the last episode that we did, but I think that NASCAR having a weekend or two every year where they switch it up and go do something different, I think that's a good thing. It kind of adds a little flair season. And then in the off season, you're like, ooh, what are they going to come up with for next year? Oh, where are they looking at? Especially for people who don't have a race in their close to their hometown like we do. Like, we're pretty lucky to have Atlanta. But the fan base in San Diego, like, oh, they might come here. I want to go see that because they may not come back. Then stuff like Chicagoland, which they haven't been to in a while. I know they just went to Chicago for the street course. But just things like that where it adds a little flair, it adds a little spice. It's like, ooh, what are the drivers going to have to adjust to for a weekend this year? That way, they don't have whole season where they're doing something new, so that the older fans and the ones that have been around for a while aren't complaining, oh, it's not the same sport anymore. I know my grandfather kind of feels that way. He doesn't like the road courses, but yeah, I think it's good to have something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I get that whole talk, especially like with Richard Petty weighing into road courses not being NASCAR, despite the fact we've raced on road courses since the very first decade the sport ever ran. Part of our DNA. My thing is like what lends to NASCAR's strengths is the fact that we have one of the most diverse racing schedules in the world. If we want NASCAR drivers to be represented and seen as world class, some of the best, up there with Formula One, up there with IndyCar, up there with like WRC drivers, like we need to take pride in our diversity of our schedule, and I think the more road courses we got, the less these drivers can just go to road courses and just slack off like they did back in the day. And then the ringers took over, or the odd, Jeff Gordon or Tony Stewart who do good on tracks like that. But like to me, we need that diversity to actually create drivers that are some of the very best. I mean, they can race on dirt, they race on short tracks, intermediates, super speedways. They can race on road courses, street courses, 2-mile tracks that are shaped like a triangle. Like, we can do anything in NASCAR. We got super truck drivers, we got go-kart drivers, we got open guys that came from open wheel supercars. Like, I think the more road courses, the better. In fact, I think we should add another one, and I think I might be one of the only people that would say that. Especially,
I agree. He wrote Atlanta.
Hell yeah, Road Atlanta, or dude, Laguna Seca would be like absolutely on rails with NASCAR cars. Like that's before I die, I want to see NASCAR at Laguna Seca or Road Atlanta.
I would love to see a Road Atlanta race. The only thing is I don't think there's enough pit space for 30-something cars at Road Atlanta. I've been once or twice. Can't really picture a whole lot of it off the top of my head. I know they do the Petit Le Mans over there every year. So I think if they can do that, they can manage NASCAR. But again, there could be some other things behind the scenes. But I love Laguna Seca too. That would be a great one. I know the trucks went to Mid Ohio at one point.
Yeah, dude, I think they still I think Xfinity still races there, or maybe it's just trucks. I don't remember.
It might have been. Or Portland's Xfinity races in Portland.
Right.
Where they raced in Portland. I don't know if it's on the schedule again this year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think if speaking about the Road Atlanta topic, if NASCAR did go there, they'd probably just make a Gilligan's Island or Gilliland Island or whatever it is, like they did with Sonoma. They'd probably just put another section for an extended pit road, like in the where there's an offshoot coming into the final turn.
Oh
Where,
yeah.
or like where Formula Drift does their thing at Road Atlanta. Maybe that could also be a small section of pits there, maybe.
Um,
But I think you could do it.
wait, what was the question again? Sorry.
So we were talking about San Diego being potentially out of the schedule and Chicago not being part of it, and then Mexico may or may not be a part of it, and then we got off talking about tracks,
Tracks.
the part of it, especially road courses.
I think San Diego's a nice place to start. I think San Diego's a good place, especially since we lost Auto Club. We definitely need something to fill up that void in SoCal. Chicago, I could go live with or without, especially with the prospect of Chicagoland coming back, bro. I'd rather have Chicagoland any day than the Chicago street course, with all due respect. Mexico, I hope it comes back, but only time will tell. Hopefully they do. I think the fans would love it. I mean, you saw it yourselves when you saw them like surrounding Bubba Wallace and Todd Gilliland. I mean, you touched on it earlier in this episode. And then I remember you guys talking about Road Atlanta. For reference, last year's Petit Le Mans had an entry list of 50 something cars, so pit space is not a problem. For reference, but I think that NASCAR has had Xfinity races there in the 80s.
Yep.
Actually, I think I saw some
Yeah.
I remember going through. I remember having issues with Road Atlanta because I think I got my truck towed or something, and I went to the office and I saw like a program of the NASCAR Busch Series, and I was like, "Huh, that's cool that they raced in Road Atlanta at one point." I don't see. I would love. I mean, it would be cool to see them go. I just don't see them going though. It and uh, I heard you say something about a Richard Petty quote as well.
Yeah,
Like,
his quotes.
How he doesn't like road courses.
I haven't heard of him disliking road courses. I do remember him saying that we should have left dirt in the past because it was a product of its time. And I do agree with him on dirt. If the road course quote is true, I disagree with that quote. But in relation to dirt, I think it's a very different time when we used to race dirt a lot. And I
Well,
think
he
it had
said
some
it's not
novelty.
NASCAR.
He said which one for road courses?
Yeah, he said road courses are not NASCAR.
I don't know. I think I wouldn't say. I can see where he's coming from, but at the same time, there was a time where he had more road courses, and when he was racing than they did 10 years ago. I mean, I think a few years ago we had Riverside. Like I mean, in the 80s they had like Riverside, and then they had
They had
like
Augusta. They
they
raced
had
at
oh yeah, that was in the 60s, yeah. But
yeah,
I remember in
like
the
right up the
80s,
road.
yeah, not that far actually. You're right. I think there's a lot of interesting things about that racetrack actually that I didn't
Yeah.
think isn't talked about. Where like I think in their last race, I think the top 5 all died within a year following that race. And then I think in what remains of the track, there was a neighborhood built, and all of the street names were named after the people who have passed away.
Oh wow, that's
Which is
very
a bit.
respectful.
It's quite the thing to learn about. I kind of don't quote me on all that. I think that's what I recall learning from Brock Beard, but
I think
I
there was a
love
Slap Shoes episode on it, or
it.
maybe
It was Brock Beard. It was Brock Beard.
oh, was it? I think didn't if it wasn't Slap Shoes, because I remember Dale Jr. used to do his abandoned racetracks. So I could have sworn they went to Augusta as well. For that.
That probably sounds right. But what I remember Augusta from Brock Beard's video specifically talking about it. Specifically talking about that one race that like 5 months, like not even a year later, all 5 of the top 5 finishers in that race passed away within the year. Quite eerie when you think about it, but yeah.
Yeah, dude, how do we get so off topic? We ended up talking about the slate truck, and then we started talking about Marvel and Audi, and now we're talking about Augusta Raceway. Like,
That's the
what?
beauty. That's the beauty about auto racing for me. You could segue, like my friends have challenged me to do this because like I'm very passionate about it. I know I've learned a lot over the years. My friends are like, you can relate anything to NASCAR, and I was like, okay, try me. And they said and I was able to somehow some way relate it to auto racing. Don't ask how, don't ask why. I just do.
Why?
Huh? Oh, he was like, how do you relate it to? And I was like, well, the Second World happened during the Second World War, and happened during the Second World War, and the Second World War inadvertently put all auto racing on hold. NASCAR probably would have been founded earlier if it weren't for the Second World War, and that's how I
Ooh.
was able to relate it. That's how I was able to relate it to auto racing.
But dude, wasn't a lot of drivers World War II veterans? So maybe
That's what I'm
NASCAR.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, had World War II not happened, or had the Americans not gotten in the war, we would have had NASCAR a lot earlier than we actually did.
Hmm.
That's my point. That was kind of my point. Also with OEM support as well. All of it went towards the war. Sorry, we got completely off topic, but that was just a little tidbit that I think was funny because my friends were like, "How do you relate anything and everything to NASCAR?"
Yeah,
But
that's fun.
please cut this out for
Yeah.
our digital footprint.
Maybe we will, or I'll just bleep. I'll bleep out. Maybe I don't know. And then we'll let people figure out what the heck we're talking about.
If we're gonna assume it's
You're
sex or something.
saying, so you're saying that if we go to Iran, NASCAR is not going to have a couple seasons?
Maybe not so much anymore. We have big military contracts now. I think NASCAR could go on now, unless the war happens on our shores, and that's a different story.
Put Iran on the schedule, damn it.
That's crazy. That gives me PTSD, bro. In 2022, there was like a drone strike like 13 miles from the Saudi Arabian track, like during free practice 1. And I remember there was a bunch of tension between the FIA and F1 drivers saying we don't want to race here. There was literally a missile strike like within 15 miles of the track. It was a whole thing, and like 3 years ago. And now no one even talks about it. Everyone forgot about it.
Dude,
Except
we've already lost the Antonov 225, and now we've lost our last
Teams.
F-14s. Like, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be too far out of the norm, I would say, for a racetrack to get hit.
from what I know of, I don't know if there's anything like major wars going on that I know of. And maybe if it is, maybe they do a temporary ceasefire during race weekends. I don't know how it works. There's been things in history, and anyways, I can explain it another day. I think we should get back on topic though.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I agree. I think we need to get back to the NASCAR specifically.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of being on topic, to wrap up part 2. So, any other drivers or anything else worth talking about going on in NASCAR right now? Anything you guys really want to talk about? And I did have a point on here about the Daniel Suárez contract, like what's going on with that, and what do you guys think is going to happen with our boy Danny?
I hope he stays, but I mean, the motorsports is a cruel business, and what feel good stories and fairy tales can only get you so far. So, I think he could. I think there's a chance he could stay. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that I've heard some people say that Zilich is willing to take another year in Xfinity to develop a little bit better, instead of getting rushed all the way to the Cup Series. So I think it's more likely that Zilich takes another year in Xfinity, and Suárez stays in the 99 for next year. I think the question marks that are being thrown out right now are going to be thrown out a lot more profusely next year, but only time will tell. I am a firm believer, and I know I'm a believer that he can succeed. He can run consistently. He's shown those glimpses of speed. I think he just needs to. I think it's maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he needs. There's just like there's a little piece that just needs to get put together in order to get some consistency going. And I think that's what he mostly needs right now.
Oh, your mic's off, Wiley.
I gotta jump off for a minute.
Oh, got you. All right, man. Well, shoot. I hope you're right. I guess that's kind of interesting. This part of the podcast is just gonna have me on there. That's kind of funny.
Camera. I'm sorry. I don't have my camera's tweaking, bro.
Here, I got an idea. Yeah, it is what it is. But dude, I hope you're right. I mean, I think Daniel Suárez is a good thing for the sport, and if he gets released from Trackhouse, like I understand it's a performance-based industry, but it wouldn't be a very popular move. It wouldn't be a good PR move, and we know it wouldn't be very good for Daniel Suarez. Like, he's adaptable, but he really never had a home.
Onto a track house.
Yeah, like there's nowhere else that would you think he would really fit in. I'm sure he'd find a way. Whether he would go back to Xfinity or Sand Cup, whatever happens, he would be okay. But like, he's got a good thing going. It would really suck because it's a feel good story, and he fits in well with her. It really sucks that like Pitbull just abruptly left right after the Daytona 500. That was super weird and awkward. Because I know he was a big supporter of Daniel.
I think he left before. He left right before, but still performed at the 500, which was more baffling.
Right, dude. I actually talked with when I went there and was able to like talk to like Daniel Suarez's team and everything. I actually asked them that. I was like, dude, what's going on with that? And they had no idea. None of them knew what was going on.
Really?
They probably know now or probably have a picture of it, but back then, like, it was just as abrupt for them as it was for the fans.
Yeah. Man, I would love to be able to get in there, dude. To be able to do that.
Yeah, dude. Well, next time, whenever we do that, like obviously this Atlanta, I'm not even going to be in town. I'm not even gonna be at the race, but like maybe next Atlanta race, you should come with. I don't know if he's going. Who knows? But I'll definitely ask him about that.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, Daniel would probably recognize me, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you straight up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh.
I'm sure he would, dude. I mean, especially as many times that you've met him, and then also dude, like I think it would be so easy for me to explain it. Just the fact that like you're probably if not the biggest Daniel Suarez fan in the world. Like it would make too much sense.
Yeah. I mean, you could just show him that photo the day before he won his Xfinity title.
So I see Wiley's back. We just were talking about Daniel Suarez and that.
That's all right. I don't know too much about his contract details, so yeah. Well, people who've been paying attention to that talk about it.
Understandable. Yeah, I mean, nobody knows. He even mentioned it's kind of a distraction to him, the fact that it's not figured out yet. So he doesn't. I mean, it's not figured, decided yet where he's going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other drivers or anything, any other stories worth talking about? I did want to ask you guys if you guys watched the Bless Your Heart podcast. I know it's like vaguely racing related, but it is my favorite Dirty Mo Media podcast. It's weird, but it's so freaking fun. Just Dale Jr. and his wife talking about the events going on and then playing games. I'd never expected it to be so like to look forward to that every week, but I do.
I don't watch I don't listen to podcasts, but honestly, I've seen enough clips about it, and I think it's really fascinating. This like gives you like an insight of Dale Jr.'s lifestyle in essence.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, he's just like the funniest dude. Like he's just like a guy. Like he's like any one of us.
I think the most interesting thing for me was him talking about how Dale Jr. was just a guy who would stay up to 2 a.m. playing video games and drink energy drinks.
Yeah, he's like a little kid, but it's endearing.
It certainly changed my outlook on Dale Jr. Not in a bad way, but I just thought it was funny. That was fascinating.
Yeah, man, I want to. If I think it would be so cool, like not in a fan meeting way, but like just to meet Dale Jr. like organically, like at a bar or on the street. I think that would be a good time.
That's true. I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. Well, any other stories? Any other drivers before we move on to the pick? Wiley, I did want to ask you about that shirt. That's a pretty sick brag.
Yeah. My dad and my little brother went to Charlotte, the Charlotte Roval. They got it for me. It's the capsule. It's kind of like a dry fit sponsor shirt. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, it's a pretty sick shirt. And you said you got to meet Chris Buescher?
Yeah, he got to take selfies with Chris Buescher. And my dad met Jack Roush, and there's a lot of pictures. I'll have to send them to the chat once we're out of here. But yeah, they had a good time. I was less than thrilled they didn't offer to take me with them, but oh well, they'll be other times.
Yeah, yeah, you got all the time in the world. Well, all right, last call. We're gonna move on to picks. All right, so we're gonna move on. Okay, so there's the final section: Pocono, Atlanta, Chicago. That's what's coming up, and because I don't know, I might be able to do one more podcast before I go to OCS. But those are the next three races. I get back in town right after Chicago, so that's the point of we'd be able to do another podcast. So we're going to do win picks for all three. Which y'all feeling with those races? How y'all feeling about those? Who you think is going to do well? And yes, what's your pick? So I got. I guess I'll just start out with Pocono. I got William Byron. I think he's due for a win. And actually, if you guys want to do it this way, do you want to do all three, or do you want to just do it in rounds? Like all three pick for Pocono, and we all three pick for Atlanta. Or...
Just rattle. I think you just rattle them off 1, 2, 3, and then if one of us wants to debate, we can do that.
All right. Yeah. So Pocono, William Byron. I think he's due for a win. He hasn't done really well at Pocono past couple of years. But like, I don't know, Hendrick kind of just rattles off wins in places they're not really that good at, and where their drivers haven't traditionally been too well. In Atlanta, this is the one that is probably gonna f me over. I mean, I make some pretty crazy. I'm the last in the pick points, and we'll go over that later. So this probably ain't gonna help me. But Kyle Busch for Atlanta, he's done really well. Like if you actually look at the stats at Kyle Busch in Atlanta, he succeeds at the eye test, and on the stats, he has done really well there. Obviously, he was one of the three that came up in that near tie finish beginning of last year, and he's just been phenomenal there ever since he's gone to RCR. So I think I mean he's in my 16 championship bracket, and I think this is where he gets it done. And then Chicago, I'm going to go a little safe. Might be a layup, but I'm just going to go Tyler Reddick for that one.
All right, I'm going to go Hamlin for Pocono. I don't think very much needs to be said about that.
No, I was going to do that. I was going to pick Hamlin, but I thought he just won his last race he competed in. I thought maybe it'd be too soon. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to pick. I didn't want to pick Elliott for Pocono because he seems to be the one Chevy that's consistently up front, towards the front at Pocono. Like last couple of years, he's been. I think he finished top 5 2 out of the last 3 years, and then I don't remember what happened last year. I don't think it was a great finish. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Hamlin on Pocono. Atlanta, I'm going to say Chase Elliott finally gets it done. Atlanta, close second pick there. Actually, I would have Suárez, just because of he's always been good there since I've been paying attention to him. So close second for Atlanta would be Suárez, and then Chicago. This is basic, but I'm going to go SVG. I think if he can not get crashed out, I think he takes it again. And there's no close second for Chicago for me.
Why did me and Wiley have like the exact same picks?
Really?
Straight up, I was gonna be like Hamlin's like outside of Jeff Gordon, Hamlin's the go-to guy at Pocono, and then like Suárez was more of a shot in the dark for my sanity. I need a good result, man. and then Pocono, and then I mean, sure we have our moments with SVG given how he didn't win Coda, but I don't know. I think given his experience at Chicago, his experiences, I should say, at Chicago, and given now that he's a full-time Cup driver, I think it's more than a given. He's gonna win it this time around. But crazier things have happened, and I mean, even last year he got taken out when he shouldn't have. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna stick it with SVG. I want to say Suárez for Atlanta, and then honestly, like I said, it's a very difficult choice for Cup or for Pocono. Hamlin's a good choice. I can see what you mean with Byron, but I think it could either be Hamlin or I think if I had to pick one of those two drivers, it'd be Hamlin. But I think Larson could sneak one in as well. I think Larson's almost always a safe bet, more often than not.
Also, something to think about for Pocono, Chase Briscoe, maybe. Maybe, not so much him as a driver, but the team, if that makes sense. The 19 being a Toyota, Pocono seems to be a Toyota player. Andy's been qualifying really, really well lately. So, I don't know. I don't think he's going to win over Hamlin, but I think, surprising he'd be one to watch.
Yeah, I respect those picks wholeheartedly.
I'm gonna lock in Larson for Pocono, just because I didn't want to copy one from Wiley.
But you're keeping SVG though.
I'm keeping SVG and I'm keeping Suárez.
All right, cool. Well, I did want to talk about, now that we made the picks, I did want to talk about how we could maybe move forward with it. So, we can obviously keep it for this one because we haven't talked about it. But maybe going forward, do you think maybe we could make picks? There's pick points, and I've actually calculated our pick points based on a formula that I'll go over in a second. But maybe the person who's lowest goes first, and then
I like that.
The first person that goes can pick from any driver in the field, and then the next guy can't pick the same thing. So we'll never have a 1-for-1, because the problem is that if, say, somebody who's in the lead in the pick points, or is in the lead in the pick points, could just pick the same as the person who's not in the lead, and so that person will, whatever, the points will never change and just win. So you got to have them for it. Not that I think you all would do that, but just to prevent
anything like that.
I do like that. I like that concept.
I think that's a good concept as well.
All right. Well,
if you want me to, I can repick, bro. It depends on who's first.
No, it's good. No, it's all good. Honestly, I think it's good to do it for this time. I don't think we would. That we'd run over each other like that. But just going forward, I think to maybe make it structured, and I also have the actual ranking for the pick points. And basically, the way I did it was calculated the points based on how many drivers are in a certain race. So, for example, Wiley, you picked Noah Gragson for the Coke 600, and somehow you just had some kind of feel about him, and he finished 10th, which is insane for Gragson. But
he's good at Charlotte.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say. He's good at Charlotte.
When you said Gragson, I was like, what? Like, you're crazy. But that's out of 40 cars in the Coke 600 field. He finished 10th. He finished in front of 30 cars. And so, in counting his car for his position, that means you, in your pick points, you got 31 for that weekend. So that's how I calculated. For the Formula One, it's a field of 20. So, for example, you and Anastasia both picked Lando Norris, and he won. So, 20 points. That's kind of how I did it. And going down the list, obviously, yeah, you and Anastasia, Lando Norris finished first. Oscar Piastri, which I did, which I picked third. Verstappen fourth. Uriel bringing up the rear on that one.
Oh.
Then Indy 500 was a field of 33. So Pato Award, Uriel, you got the best spot in that one. You finished third. Everybody else did horrible. Newgarden 22nd, Larson 24th, and then Anastasia with Kirkwood 27th. Charlotte, Gregson somehow was the best finishing of all four of them. Bush, Anastasia picked Bush at 15th. Suárez 36th. Blaney, my pick, Blaney of all people, finished last, 38, or not last, but close to last, 38.
We were in the same wreck, man. Brutal.
Yeah, what the freak is that? Kind of look. So, okay. So I don't know how you want to calculate this because I have pick points all time and for the year. So, if we combine our pick points from 2023 when we did that very first podcast, I calculated our prediction for the Clash, 500, and then also the championship pick. Yes, and the way I calculated that was I took all 34 full-time chartered cars, and same as the races, where that driver finished in the points, that's how many points you got for your pick points out of those 34. And I added that, and then we also picked the 16 drivers that made the playoffs. Each driver we got right was 1 bonus point. I thought that was fair. So the way it came out was in 2024, Wiley, you netted out 84, and or 89, so you won. I had 80, and then Uriel, you had 69. Nice. Third.
I know what pick dragged me down. I know what pick dragged me down, bro.
Yeah, your Suárez championship pick, probably.
Yeah, that was definitely the one.
But he actually didn't do too bad. I think he finished 12th, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But anyways, for this year, Wiley, you are in the lead at 63. Anastasia and Uriel, y'all are tied for 53.
Really?
It's really the Gregson pick that is.
I'm a ball knower for real.
And then I'm in the basement at 31. I'm just not doing too well right now. And all time, if we combine 24, which I don't see any problem with that because, Anastasia is not really on screen. So honestly, I don't see it as being that unfair. I don't know. But all time is Wiley. Of course, you're in the lead, 152. Uriel in second at 122. I'm in third at 111. And of course, I did add Anastasia in there at 53, just counting this year's points. But
I can understand what you mean. It's not necessarily unfair, but I also think we should do it by a yearly basis.
Yeah,
makes more sense.
I don't really see a problem with it either way, but I think for the sake of consistency, if we want to be consistent about it, we should do yearly. I will also say you're beating me in fantasy right now by quite a substantial bit. So I don't know where that goes with my fantasy picks.
right. Well, that can.
Does that mean you have selective wheel knowledge?
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't even been doing fantasy just because me and my dad I watch the races on Sunday with my dad every weekend, and we wait to start the race so we can just fast forward through commercials. So I never can move my garage pick or anything like that. So I just make the picks just because I don't know, when I make fantasy picks, I know it's just you and me and occasionally your brother, but I don't know, it still makes me excited to pick though to do the fantasy. It gets my wheels turning of who's gonna do good and everything. It's still fun.
It's the same people could do good, but then you pick the same people and you run out of picks. It's its own strategy game. You gotta like I picked Suárez this past weekend. It's like, and I could have swapped him for Chase Elliott in the middle of the race, but I was like, well, when is Suárez going to pull this many points again? So like I'm not trying to be offensive. He's had a rough year. I wish he had done better because he's a good guy to watch race. But like it's a strategy game. It's like, all right, this person's good this weekend. This other person I have in my garage has more points, but they can pull that many points weekend to weekend versus this person who can't. So it's a fun little strategy game.
Yeah. It's horrible when like your fantasy lineup just gets absolutely massacred and you're like trying to pick which one stays in the garage based on which one's the least bad. Like that has happened way too many times.
Yeah.
Especially at super speedways. Like I think there was one time every single one of my fantasy guys was DNF. I'm pretty sure that happened at Atlanta one time.
Yeah, there was one weekend where we both. I don't think either of us got more than 100 points.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I had to have been either Atlanta or Talladega. But it's fun. It's fun. But all right, so yearly, we'll do yearly. I just thought we'd do all the time just because I know you guys do it. But yeah, we can do yearly. So yeah, Wiley, you got the title for 23 or 24.
24, yeah.
Yeah, and you are in the lead now, but it's still a close battle. I mean, a lot of these fields have anywhere between 35 and 40 cars. So one bad race for one of your picks, and it's flipped.
30.
Yeah, you never know. So, but yeah. So that's that. I mean, that's basically it. Made the picks. So, yeah, it's been good. It's I'm glad we're able to do this. Like, I mean,
semi-consistently now.
Yeah. I actually wasn't sure. Like, I was like kind of. I didn't know how like enthusiastic you guys were about it. I thought maybe like, I didn't want to like encroach too much in on your lives, because things are busy sometimes, and everybody's working on their own things, and y'all are in school and stuff. But I'm really glad to hear that you guys are really on board with it.
I'm
It's
still interested. I think. Oh, sorry, Wiley, you go.
No, you're good. You got it.
Okay, I like this podcast a lot. I do think we need to work on some things though. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm perfect either, but I think we need to work on coordinating like what our I guess a quote unquote consistent order, and try to avoid interrupting each other a lot. I think that's
fair.
I think that's a big thing that I think all of us I think I have to work on a lot as well because I interrupted you a few times, and I think that could help us make a much more cohesive podcast experience.
Yeah, it's hard to do over like Discord or something though, because when you're face to face talking to people, you can kind of tell like body language when they're about to start saying something. Like with this, you can't tell that. So like you can like I could be talking now, and then I pause to take a breath or something, and normally you can see when someone's pausing to take a breath. Then like Taylor goes to say something, and then I go to finish what I was saying. It's just hard.
Yeah, like maybe have like a call your name or something. I guess I don't know. I'm not.
Right.
I'm again. It's not a big problem, but I think we can. I think it's things that it's like growing pains.
Something I need to do that I think would be really great is a timer. So we set like a 5-minute timer, and that is the cordoned off block for bullet point 1 for part 2 for Wiley to speak, and then the next 5 minutes are for Euro to speak for that question. The next 5 minutes are for me, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I like that because that way we can all kind of synchronize it and know when one of us is done talking.
Yeah.
Right. And then, go ahead.
I said I can agree to that.
I think like we are in an internal battle, like throughout each time we've done this to shorten it, and I've simplified it and gave it much less talking points than last time, and we still managed to make part 1 over an hour long somehow.
And that's me. And that was me. That was me being gone for 20 minutes too.
Yeah, that I'm not even counting. Yeah, that's without even counting that in. It was still over an hour. Because I remember we started about 8:18 Georgia time, and we got off of part 1 at like 9:20.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I like it because this is more of an opportunity, I guess. Personally, I'm not very good with separating work from, I guess, school/work from everything else. So it's a good opportunity to kind of talk about something we're all passionate about, kind of take my mind off of some other things. So I enjoy it. I like being able to come together and talk racing for an hour or two.
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, 2 or 3. There you go.
2 or 3 hours. We'll work on that. I actually thought about maybe when we get off of here, I'll make like a notes document or Google Doc or something, and then we can go ahead.
You go. You finish.
That was basically it. I mean, we could just put in improvements or things that we think we can, or even like ways of reformatting how we talk about things. Like, so do picks for Xfinity and trucks, which we haven't done yet. And I thought about that. Oh, go ahead, man.
That's good. Oh, Xfinity picks and truck picks could get really spicy, bro.
Yeah, I just thought it was just too much to add, especially because I was already asked.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. You kind of already asked. We already have a lot of talking points, and even right now, we're still running over like nearly 3 hours of time.
Might be kind of cool. I don't know what we could come up with. We also have committed the sin of not actually figuring out a good name for it, so we still need to do that. So
I will figure it out. I would be too hard.
Yeah, we'll figure it.
Podcast itself or a name for like the sections?
Podcast itself, but a name for sections, like a good iconic name to give each section, would be great. I don't know. We could call it like, something cool, but something nobody's ever done, like a Break Dust podcast.
True.
I mean, Hoffle is the YouTube channel. So I don't think the name needs to change unless we really want to. I mean, it just stems back from where it came from. So I think could keep it.
I mean, given time, and if I can actually, and I won't have much time going forward, but say in the next year or two, and I got time to actually work on this channel and get somewhat of a following, I mean, I think what would be the perfect thing would be to move the podcast to separate its own thing would be good. But just the Hoffle podcast is just kind of like a placeholder. And really, what's kind of weird is Hoffle it's hot dog waffle, which it was actually a channel started between me and my sister, and she abandoned it, so I just kind of took part of it. So that's where the hot dog waffle thing comes in. But honestly, since she's not there, like the name can go. It's just a placeholder right now, basically. I think there's a lot of room to work on it if you guys have any ideas. But if it's fine the way that it is, then it's fine the way it is.
We could do something based on location.
Yeah, we could do something. Could name it based on something from Atlanta, like the racetrack Atlanta, like some moment that's happened, or some track lore, something like that.
Or we could do. I was thinking about something a bit more different because you go to Auburn, right?
Yeah, I do, but I mean,
we could do a spin-off on how we have a hatred for UGA, man. Perfect fit.
Oh, really?
I don't have a hatred for UGA.
I have. I mean, okay. I applied for tech and I got rejected.
Oh,
But I still hate UGA because I will never respect the people who yell. I will never respect the grown men who yell at 5-year-olds because they don't support the Georgia Bulldogs, bro. And I am an avid UGA hater till I die.
I can go on and on about how much I hate Alabama fans too, but my girlfriend home, so I need to jump on the night.
You probably won't like this, but I'm actually a Longhorns fan.
You're a long. I don't care if you're a Longhorns fan as long as you're not a Bama fan.
You know what? Fair enough. I have people in Georgia that every time they hear me say, "Well, I like the Longhorns," they're like, "Ew." So I'm like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, you get a lot of that. Yeah. Did you not like Denny Hamlin when he walked on stage in driver introductions?
Oh, he did the horns down. Him and Herbst, bro.
Yeah. Horns down.
Monkeys, dude. Absolute monkeys. Sorry. I
Anyway,
didn't stutter
I'll
though.
see y'all next.
All right, man.
Sorry, Wiley. On that, I'm sorry
Yeah.
you had to hear that.
That's good. Y'all have a good one.
You as
Yeah.
well.